The SJI debate is a very modern take on the traditional Oxford style debate. We will have all the elements of the debate, including good faith arguments, reasoned, evidence backed analysis, but all done with a dash of humor and good natured debating. I'll turn the spotlight now to Vivek to present his opening remarks for the motion.
So the debate is about should science serve the state, and I'm all for it. I think I strongly believe that. So let us, in a democratic country, let us define what is state. State is we the people, the society, right? So we have to rewrite this and say, should science serve the society? Obviously, right? Aniket, you still want to continue? So let us take some example where the science really helped the society. And one of the best example is Dr. Homi Bhabha's vision for the nuclear energy. After a few years after the independence, he thought that country needs nuclear energy, country needs nuclear bomb. And now imagine, without a nuclear bomb, what could be the scenario of our country? We could have controlled by our neighbor long back. So that's the vision, and that's the serving the nation by a scientific vision. Another example is DRDO's missile program. Imagine India without Agni missile. What will happen? Our neighbor will attack us. This is again a nice example of a science serving the nation. ISRO, we already heard a very nice debate in the morning, right? And we are now a technology leader in the space science, and that is also helping us in terms of satellites and all of that. So whenever you take examples where the science is done to serve the nation, it always helped. Now let us take some examples where this belief that science should be based on the curiosity, fundamental research. Scientists should never ask any question. Give us unlimited money, unlimited facilities, and don't ask any question because we are scientists. We're supposed to do whatever we think good and don't ask any question. We are not there to serve anyone. So that arrogance, and let us take some example. For example, the green hydrogen, which is now a very hot topic. So the Indian scientists are working in this field for more than 20 years and ask this question: how many processes Indian scientists have developed? How many catalysts Indian scientists have developed? None. We are maybe 20, 30 years behind what is happening in other part of the world. Why? If you have given so-called curiosity-based, free-flowing research funding and infrastructure, why there was nothing? Another example that you can see is the field where I work, catalysis, right? One of the biggest Indian industry is a petrochemical. You get a crude petrol from Middle East and convert that into fine chemicals. So even today, even after 75 years, not a single catalyst is developed in India. Everything is imported, right? You just enter into any lab in our country, research lab, almost 90% of the instruments are imported, right? Why can't our own scientists have developed it, right? And it's very strange. We can develop nuclear technologies, we can send the satellites, and we can go to the moon. We can't build our instruments. Again, because we are free to do whatever we want is correct, rather than the main goal of serving the society, serving the nation. Several examples I think one can list upon, right? Solar energy is another hot topic nowadays, but solar panels we still import from China. Battery coming from China. So what happened to the research, the free research that we were doing from last 75 years? Where is it? What it produced? Look around us. Laptop, phone, almost all the electronic technology, almost all the technologies, all imported. Why? So that means somehow this curiosity-driven research with no control and no question asked failed in our country, right? What Indian science really become is a factory to produce papers and make international publisher rich. Nothing more than that. If you really read the papers, if you ignore 20% of them, 80% are incremental research. Nothing more than that. And we are only using this taxpayers' money to just produce piece of paper and get the award, get the promotions. And that's not the science that we need. We need a science that really helps the society, right? And one of the biggest challenges that our society is facing currently is a climate change. I don't know how many of you take it seriously, but climate change is challenging the humanity. Whether human can still stay on the planet Earth is decided based on how we tackle climate change. And that requires a focus research goal. right? Where we will not only serve our nation, but we will serve entire humanity, right? And then again, that means if I have a control, I will put all the fundings only to one research right now for next 10 years to find out a solution to combat climate change. So that's why I think this current scenario is such that we must follow this particular principle of do a science to serve the nation. Once we are developed and once we solve all our problems, then maybe we can think of using the money to satisfy our curiosity continuously. Thank you
Excellent
very much.
points, and you've stuck to the time, 5 minutes. So, funding and resources, national priorities, maybe economic competitiveness, regulations, doing it for our own domestic. Turning over to you, Aniket.
Thank you. So Vivek has actually put forward a really spirited defense for the science serving the interests of the state. I respect his views, but I don't think I agree with them. Uh, like he mentioned, the funds given to curiosity driven research. The fact is, funds for science are given when the interest of for that funding aligns with the uh, people who control the funding. So, if you really want endless supply of funds, you have to align your interest with the interest of the state. Uh, you also, if you want to soothe your ego, get lots of awards, you have to again align your interest with the interest of the state, because uh, it is state which decides who gets recognition through awards and not. Like, just an aside, maybe many of you would know already that now in India the scientists cannot get any awards except the ones which are given by the central government. So that is that too specifically Home Ministry. They are not allowed to accept any of the awards. Anybody, that is different point altogether. Uh, so serving the science serving the interest of state gives not just your own material. It is in the interest of state. It is in the interest, and it is also in the interest of your own material interest. But is it actually the deal like the Faust made with devil? To answer that question, we should look at what exactly is science. Now, people have written reams of papers about uh, a, what is science, what is scientific thinking, and all these things, and still there is no universally accepted definition. Everybody says, "Oh, this definition has something lacking. This is something lacking." But let's say that since we are all science journalists and scientists here, we agree on rough contours of what is acceptable definition, and I would put paraphrase that is doing science is dialogue with nature. Nature is a very complex entity. We try to understand nature, we try to mimic nature, we try to uh, replicate the natural processes, and that is what drives most of the scientific questions. Now, if you put our scientific quest in this way, our dialogue of a curious mind with nature, what role does state have in this? There is no role for state. It is just an interaction between a curious individual and nature. Obviously, Vivek said that state represents government of the people, and hence state is equal to society. But the definition given by Abraham Lincoln is not just of the people; it is government of the people, for the people, by the people. So, state is a custodian of to ensure that there is no wastefulness, but that does not give state power to decide which lines of inquiries are legitimate or which lines of inquiries are not. Uh, you don't have to go too far in the history to see what happens when scientists decide that serving the state is their primary goal. You can think about many examples, like genetics was a fledgling science in early decades of 20th century that gave rise to eugenics. Uh, you see that in various American states, also the racial laws which they passed in the 20s and 30s, then followed by Nazis who thought about selective breeding and creating a dedicated Aryan race of specific genetic features and so on. And you can list many of these horrific experiments they conducted to in that uh, to that end. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to even look at just fascist regimes. Uh, Look at Trofim Lysenko, who was agronomist under Soviet Union. He thought that all the concept of gene itself is bourgeois invention, and we can use the Soviet principles to get more hardy crop seeds and then eventually hardy crops. And Stalin liked that idea because it perfectly matched with the idea of a Soviet or socialist way of life. And
Okay, I'll have to ask you to wind up your
oh yeah,
argument.
sorry.
No,
I was talking
if
to
you have one final statement to make, we can take that.
Okay, so I will just wind up by saying yes. So there have been many examples of misuse of the use of science serving the state, and hence I would put forward a case that science should remain independent of influence of state. That's all.
Great. So, freedom of inquiry and innovation versus control. Excellent points again. Going down to the floor now, 30 seconds for any floor reactions, reflections.
When you get the fund from the government, of course you have to support the government, because the passion driven research, of course, we can do without the support. When you have a fund from the public money, you are accountable to the public and also to the government. That's
During Victorian time, Michael Faraday was in an exhibition and Queen Victoria was asking about the machine of dynamo. And Queen asked, what is the use of this machine? Michael Faraday said, what is the use of the baby in the lap of your ayabai? It's only the time will tell. So scientists are not bound by the state.
I think I agree with both the speakers. First, with the sir, because when the scientist is working, there is one set of grant which is assigned to them for his passion, and then there are some project which is assigned by the state. Those are driven for the society, by the society, and to decide the course of action for the next society. Thank you.
Homi Bhabha, atom bomb, and DRDO, I wonder if science serving the state is being read as science serving the military, and if that interpretation has a consequence.
Rather than should science serve the state, I think we should also think should science serve capital, because now it looks like the state also is being controlled by capital itself. So, would like to take your remarks on that.
A scientist can be accountable for the funds, but the state cannot govern what the scientist researches about. So the inquiry should be free. They could be accountable and they can say how they spend the money, but they should have the independence.
I'm unclear about the definition of state here, because state is not synonym to society. And state for me would be the government, or who is controlling or ruling the sovereign state.
The state can't pass laws that says a particular science is unscientific anymore. But yet, that is what the state wants to do.
Before the second wave of COVID came, we had something called INSACOG. The primary job of that consortium was to do genome sequencing and try and tell the government and other agencies that what variant of the COVID was about to come so that we can prepare. The INSACOG kept telling government before the Delta wave that such a horrible variant was about to come. No one in the government, no one right from top to the bottom listened to the INSACOG. The entire consortium, the top scientists resigned, and then we know what will happen. So if state actually serves, I mean, I'm not sure whether state really serves the interest of the people, the very definition of the state which she pointed out. So why should scientists in that case serve only the interest of the state?
The problems that the state defined is being taken up by, is given by the scientists of this country. So it's not that the government or the state is coming up with the problems, right? It is from the scientist input that they define the problems and then they fund it. And then the scientists have all the freedom to solve that problem. So I completely support with Vivek that you have the freedom while you are getting the funds.
All right, since I have got to be neutral, I'm just saying that that's a brilliant floor. Thank you very much. It's time for rebuttals. Vivek first, 5 minutes.
Okay, so there are many, many things, but I think the one key point is who defined the states, and I think Professor Pillai already explained. So when we say government did not agree or government did not took the action, who is in the government? I don't think these are the ministers who takes the decision. These are the scientists sitting at that level who is guiding these people, right? It is the scientific leaders. They takes the decision, right? I'm in this field from more than 11 years, and I see when you change the scientific leader, everything changes. So it's that, and then again the question that state is, when state is thinking about something, why are they thinking about something? Why are they pushing for some research over the other? Because they are thinking for the society. What will they gain by focusing on one topic over the other? They won't gain anything. What is state? It's the society. It's we the people. I don't think there is any confusion. So whenever state decides the policy is decided by taking the input from the scientists. I don't think the scientific policies are decided by the politicians by themselves. It's always the various kind of a task force and vision meetings that we all do, and we decide. So I think there is no confusion about state and society. Some of the points that Aniket made is about uh, the controller of the funding decides who gets the funding. Absolutely wrong. Funding is given to a novel idea, full stop. If your idea is not novel, right, and if you are not serving the cause, you should not get the funding. That's the reality. Obviously, there will be some leaks here and there, right? This is our country. We all know how it works. But in general, it's at least the idealistic way is novel idea gets the funding, and we have to keep up with that. Regarding one of the very important point that Aniket made is the science is about dialogue with the nature, learn from the nature. I completely agree. I think there is nothing to debate on this. But can we imagine all the scientists only keep learning with the nature and don't worry about what is happening to the society? We don't worry about, okay, there's a shortage of electricity, there's a shortage of water, there's a pollution. We don't care of anything. I only interact with the nature and do my curiosity driven research. No, we can't, right? Because there is unlimited money, unlimited resources. We have to use that to develop things, right, and serve the nation.
You meant limited.
What is
Limited.
that?
You mean limited, not unlimited.
I said unlimited. No, obviously. I wish it could be other way around. Yeah. Another very popular thing that we scientists say, oh, this is fundamental. I'm from a fundamental research institute, so I know what it means. We are a fundamental research institute, researchers, and whatever I'm discovering today, it will one day impact the society there, and then they keep giving lots of good examples. Is that true in India? How many fundamental discoveries we have done that really help the society, Indian society, forget about the nation. Most of the time, we are importing every single technology is coming from outside, right? So what happened? What happened to that curiosity-driven research, that free mind, right? Time tells. Where is the time? 75 years gone. If we continue this way, another 100 years will be gone. And again, we give the same argument. Are bhai, ek din ho hi jayega. Right? So I don't believe in that. Accountability, right? That's another important thing. Most of the scientists believe that we are not accountable to anything. You give us some money and don't ask any question. This is the typical problem in this country, right? We can buy any instrument that we want. I don't care whether that instrument is used or not used. And I can tell you there are many instruments purchased with hundreds of crores of rupees and not in use because of ego of some people, some scientists. This is reality. So accountability is very important, and which is completely missing. Someone says science serves the capitalist, right? That's the point someone made there. So again, we always take the capitalist as a negative thing, right? But imagine this country without Adani, without Ambani, without Tata, without a Birla, what will happen, right? So why are we opposing them? They are making our life easy, right? That's how all other countries are doing. So if science is helping them, indirectly they are helping the society, right? Obviously they make more money than us, but we have to be more neutral, I guess.
Okay, I think
Done?
your
Okay,
time's
there are many
up.
questions, but yes.
Yes, I'm bubbling to say things, but I won't.
Thank you. So I was noting down some of the points which our audience made. Couple of points I think I would address. One point definitely is several people said about accountability, but I don't think accountability is an issue which is related to should science serve the state. Accountability is independent of that. Whatever line of inquiry you pursue, you still should have accountability. But being accountable doesn't mean towing the line of state. Somebody mentioned science serving the capital in present economy in which we have in India. Yes, unfortunately it is true. But as I mentioned with Lysico example, science serving the state or interest or the ideology of state is an issue which transcends capitalist or communist or fascist way of life. E- every economy you will have people, scientists who would find it in their interest to serve the interest of the state, to the line of state. But it is not all bad. Most scientists don't mind speaking truth to the power. For every Lysenko, we have had hundreds of people who don't mind speaking the truth. In Greek time, we had Socrates. In medieval times, we had Galileo and Bruno. In modern times, we have Vavilov and Einstein, who opposed what they saw as wrong things by state. We have to tell state, the state may believe in any idiosyncrasy. Government of Brazil may believe that cutting down Amazon forest is in the best interest of Brazilian economy, but scientists have to oppose that. Trump administration may believe that COVID pandemic is not real, and there are some scientists in the whom their administration handpicked, they may pander to that view, but other scientists have duty to step up and stop that. We have to tell what is truth. We have to say astrology is not real. We have to say Earth was not created 6,000 years ago, as Christians would believe. We have to say Ramayana did not happen in the last ice age. We have to say that climate change is real. All these things we have to say, irrespective of whether if state likes it or not. I will end this with just one poem which I find apt for this discussion. This is not my poem. I am just quoting it. राजा बोला रात है, रानी बोली रात है, मंत्री बोले रात है, संतरी बोले रात है, सब बोले रात है, ये सुबह सुबह की बात है.
Again, bubbling to say things, but I won't. The floor is open now. If there's no point of order or point of information, we'll go ahead and vote. For the motion, can we have a raise of hands for the motion? The motion? Oh, the motion for the motion, should science serve the state? It's a question. Yes.
So for the motion is science should serve the state.
Yes, it should serve the state. Should science serve the state? Yes, it should. Is okay. No, it shouldn't. Oh my gosh. I think Aniket wins this round. Can we have the two debaters up front? Shaking hands, no sparring anymore.
Both of us are from TIFR.
Yeah, exactly.
But I made him for the first time.
Oh, lovely.
11 years.
That's how state works. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Excellent debate. And I think we've had some really great points made. Both sides loved your thoughts, loved how we should have an innovation approach in-house, serve the people, may not be exactly the state, but surely the people that we want to. Based on what you said, it's exactly the counterpoint. Shouldn't we make innovation the priority and make science for the people the priority, apart from everything else? So thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.